and an effective lobbying voice. I'm certain that if such a group is not formed to unite the Hazara, indeed in an international way, besides a national way, then the identity of the Hazara people is at risk. It's at risk of being lost by the natural process of cultural assimilation. Your children will become immersed in the Australian culture of their school friends and the wider community. Their immersion in Australian culture, and of course yours, is desirable, it's critical, it's needed. But in your hearts and minds, you must always remember with great pride the great history, dignity and culture of your Hazara ancestors. A simple process will also happen to your friends and family who are living in other countries. They too will become assimilated, and also the knowledge and treasury that they have of the Hazara culture is likely to be at risk. Stop and think for one moment. Ask yourself, what happens when a culture, when the Hazara culture is lost, or disappears, or dies, after which there is nothing? The Hazara today are living in societies around the world where the degree of integration demanded by globalization is unimaginable, and many Hazara people have trouble grasping the full impact of this on their lives. My point here is that neither you or I have any defences against cultural change that encourages us and compels us to reinvent ourselves. However, at heart, most Hazaras, particularly older folk, are trying to live a life in Australia and elsewhere that they really don't understand, and they exist with a sort of radical hope. Radical hope anticipates, believes in a future where things will turn out good. But this is a hope that can't eventuate without some sort of strategy, some sort of plan for both the individual and the group and the community, and it requires at least partial acceptance of the ways of the dominant culture. Each Hazara individual in the Hazara community must be seen and see themselves as exemplary human beings living through an extraordinary time of change. And the things that you long for, but do not yet fully understand, are possible only through this radical hope, this compromise of identity, and this unified, strong voice. Radical hope means that you are in a life and a world full of risks, including that of misleading and misidentifying what the hoped for good or future consists of. And we all know that that certainly is the lot of the Hazara in Afghanistan. But it requires you to go forward, to act vigilantly and with certainty, and with a degree of trust again in the host culture. You cannot hang on to old ways and the accepted village or town traditions, but you can preserve them, and you can record them, and you can be proud of them. We are living in a time that is moving forward towards a world civilization, highly unified economically, politically, and in communications. And it has and will go on exacting a tremendous human cost in the death or near death of many cultures. The Hazara must find a way, because I believe the Hazara are at a critical point, and must find a way of inventing a new way with some continuity with the old one that is under siege. There is, however, no how-to-do manual for this process. We, the modern Hazara community and friends of the Hazara community, have to invent one. And this is how I propose you do it. First, you have to ask yourself what you can do to create a Hazara community, a unified Hazara community that is capable, competent, vibrant, progressive, and respected locally, nationally, and internationally. Second, a Hazara presence or representation on the boards and committees in local, national, and international forums, especially those that will have benefits for the Hazara people. You also have to create a strong, visible Hazara presence in multicultural festivals and venues in your city, town and suburb. Perhaps it might be also achieved through some sort of programming on television providers such as SBS, a monthly program, news and so on. You need a local Hazara website and a network of young Hazara nationally. A national Hazara directory identifying businesses and organisations and persons who are promoting Hazara interests. You also need an international directory. You also need to identify young Hazara people, both male and female, who can be groomed for political government leadership roles and the award of scholarships and educational and career development, things like Rotary scholarships and so on. To conclude, I've suggested that to become integrated, you must ironically discover and develop your unique individual and community identity, and in a way that will be recognised by the Australian community. The practical steps in doing this are promoting the interests of Hazara women, socially, educationally and politically, networking throughout Australia and New Zealand and surrounding countries, and in your suburbs and communities, Auburn, Griffith, Melbourne, Perth, wherever. Generally, also encouraging and enhancing integration and support within communities where Hazaras reside by networking with federal, state and local governments. There are also, because the Hazara have suffered enormously at the hands of others, you need to establish research programs. For example, programs in psychosocial research to identify problems that result from Hazara's marginality in Afghanistan and Pakistan and even here, and the problems that result from resettlement programs and settling into the community, and the lack of dedicated support groups that exclude Hazaras, such as Afghani, Iranian and Pakistani groups. We need also to strengthen the monitoring and information systems, both domestically and internationally, for Hazara. There is also, of course, a need for a new and accurate history of the Hazara, one that can be written by experts in consultation with the traditional leaders of the community. You also need to advocate for and encourage excellence in education for the Hazara youth, and again, particularly for women. But ultimately, it comes back to you as an individual, as an Australian Hazara, to make a strong personal commitment and effort to both integrate and yet, in a sense, remain uniquely Hazara, an Australian Hazara. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hartley. Any questions from the members of the audience? And I'll really encourage our fellow participants to please ask questions. It's really please do feel comfortable and free to ask any questions.
I was going to ask a question before presented before, but it's kind of related about Hazara identity. So the previous speaker, Rajasthani, mentioned about Hazara identity, that we have to be the Hazara. So, but also because it's a form, it's also kind of a diversity kind of context, and we have to kind of get some kind of criticism. But it also was in contradiction to what he was saying, that Hazara has been loyal to the land that they have settled in. And he got an example of Iranian Hazara who are assimilated in Iran. So, but if we actually identify ourselves as Hazara, so, and also we create circles among ourselves that we live in a society that encourages diversity, differences, and criticism and all that. So